Welcome back to another episode of Beekeeping Buddies. I'm Steven.
And I'm Luke.
Man, we have all the things to talk about because it is prime beekeeping season.
Yes, I haven't had a day off. I kind of took today off and ended up not taking today off because I had beekeeping stuff. But yes, it's been very busy. It's kind of nice since we had such a long dead time. But we are a little early to be this busy, that's been a little unsettling.
So the other weird thing is our nukes showed up earlier than we expected. We had great weather for shipping the nukes, and then like immediately into the 80s, and then within a day or two, we went from 80 to 40 in less than 24 hours, and then we were freeze warning for like 3 days, and then you would think we'd have a nice Central Illinois spring buildup, 65 for the highs, 50s for the lows. No, right back to the 80s.
Yeah.
And then right back to the 40s. I kid you not, everybody listening. We did 80 to 40 twice in about a 10-day period. It's been crazy.
But the flowers, so the apples bloomed, the peaches bloomed, the pears bloomed.
Yep.
The freeze, we didn't get a freeze this year. So I'm looking forward to actually having like the you pick strawberries this year.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had that for about 2 years. Last year was really bad.
It was.
And the year before that I think was really bad. So maybe we'll get away with that this year.
But what essentially it's meant is we're like 3 weeks ahead in our timetable for spring.
So looking at the news, all of the US is at least 3 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
And there's some places that are a month ahead, like Colorado was 4 weeks ahead for swarms. Yeah. That is crazy.
And so we're not just talking like flowers, right? We're talking we're getting regular swarm calls. We've got cutouts already planned for swarms that have moved in to one of our most common swarm cutout apartment complex. I mean, we had flying drones the first week in April. I was in the hives when we got our nuke deliveries, and I had plenty of drones running around already.
I had a couple of nukes. The nukes were far enough ahead this year that if you weren't careful, they swarmed. And there was a couple that swarmed. Yeah. So on my property, I know there's been at least... I was standing outside teaching class on Saturday, and a swarm took off. And the student was there, was like, "What's that?" I'm like, "That is a swarm of bees." And he's like, "What do you do?" And you're like, "Well, we're going to wait for them to land. And hopefully they land like... Ideally, it's like 3 feet off the ground. But
I mean, I'll take 5 or 6 feet too.
Sure, I'll take 10 feet.
Yeah, I'll take. Well, let's rephrase.
50 feet is no fun.
I'll take anything I can reach.
Yeah, 50 feet was
50
no fun.
feet up in the tree like you had this week.
Yeah.
Not going to be that. You're going to wave at them as they move on.
I could reach them with my extension bucket on top of the pickup truck.
On top of the ladder.
On top of the ladder with somebody holding the ladder. And I couldn't shake it enough to get the whole swarm.
Ocean violation.
What? No. OSHA was there. They approved of the bucket.
Duct taped onto the end of the
pole
pole trimmer?
It's bolted on. It has. I have.
Mine was duct tape.
Yeah, I didn't duct tape it. Mine is more secure than that. Although it did make me want to have a lift, which our neighbor has. And
is he going to let us borrow it for doing cutout? We need to be more friends with him.
I would like to be more friends with the. Well, it depends on what kind of lift it is. It's electric, then.
Electric works.
I don't know. I'll have to take a close look at it.
So we were out in the hives today doing regular bee things, and I've had the occasional time when I wasn't paying attention and maybe I didn't put enough space on when I needed to, and the hive may have decided to put all the nectar in a deep. And, like normally I'm pretty good with my honey supers. I get them on in time. I always thought if I get my honey supers on in time, this won't happen. Given how early a start of spring we had, I was real forward in talking about getting supers on and going through hives, assessing which ones were strong and making sure they had supers. What I wasn't counting on was the hives that weren't necessarily going gangbusters, but weren't exactly lagging behind. But they had moved up in the double deep over winter, and I did standard reversal. They go on the bottom. The empty one on the bottom goes on the top. Come back a month later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. Everybody's doing great. Put a honey super on. You're good to go.
Because you're using 2 deep hives, which are the biggest frames that are currently available for Langstroth.
For normal stuff. Double deep. And of 5 hives I went through today, all of which had gotten typical spring inspections and typical reversals, all of them decided that despite having extra space above them, a lot of them have extra space above them, we're just going to put all of the nectar in the empty deep.
Yeah, that gets really heavy really fast.
It really heavy really fast, and I don't know how to fix it.
Like basically a frame of deep honey. A frame by itself is maybe a pound, maybe, and then a frame of deep honey is 10 pounds.
Yeah,
and when you have 10 of those there, then you have
100 pounds.
100 pounds, and with bees in it, it makes it uncomfortable to move, and you can't do a whole lot with it. Here's what I've found that I do with it.
I mean, I've extracted them. Like my extractor takes deep frames.
Yeah. So mine does too.
But it's just such a pain to have to logistically handle between. And so you're like, well, I can move them to the outside edges of my hive. The outside 2 frames are honey.
Yep.
I could stick it there and not worry about it for the rest of the season. If they go through it, they go through it. If not, but here's the problem. It's like super early going to be a great light honey. Like I want that spring honey.
It's a fantastic honey. And our black locusts are just beginning to bloom, which means it's going to be our early fruits that honey is, like peaches and pears and stuff like that. And that I did 10 pounds of that. No, that's not true. I had 30 pounds of that last year. I sold 20 pounds of it before I tried it and realized how good it was. And now I have 10 pounds of it left. So, and I still have 10 pounds of it left. It's really good.
So at the wildlife apiary, the entire field between the levee and the river is nothing but honeysuckle, and it's starting to turn white.
It's just starting to bloom.
Which means I'll have an incredible honeysuckle pull.
And honeysuckle, even though it's invasive, man, that honey's good.
I mean, it is a noticeably honeysuckle taste.
Yeah.
Like if you were a young kid growing up in the 80s or 90s, you ran around, plucked the honeysuckle things off and sucked on them as a kid. I'm sure today, like, oh my God, little Timmy's out there in the wild doing things. But, back then.
Yeah.
And
as long as it didn't kill you, we were pretty
right?
fine. Oh, speaking of weird things growing, I picked 4 pounds of morels outside my apiary, outside my hives.
So for everybody who doesn't know, morels are sort of a unique mushroom that I have always only known in Central Illinois.
I never even considered that they were not anywhere else, not everywhere.
No.
No, there's different varieties. I found out there's different varieties.
Yes.
So there's a black morel, which are the first ones.
There's the little short grays.
And
then the big yellows.
The yellows, and then there's another variety of yellows that's kind of like a weird mushroomy, weird looking.
They're all mushrooms, Luke.
Yeah, I know, but it's weird. It's a weird looking. Anyway, the yellow ones is what we got. And they're right outside the apiary, and so I called a couple other people that I know that have apiaries. They also had morels on their property.
Yeah.
So it was I called 4 different ones, not including Steve. I called 4 different ones.
I have them on mine.
Steve has morels in his property, and all 4 of them had morels outside their apiary.
But see, I have family that grew up in Quad Cities, and they have rural wooded property, and they always talked about hunting morels when I was growing up back in the 90s.
This was specifically in the flight path of right outside my chain link fence, specifically in the flight path of where my bees come and go from.
Sir, I don't think the bees are picking up.
I still think they're
morel
doing it.
Spores.
We've got to do a study. There should be a study on them to see if because they're messing around on the ground. That's the other weird thing. I've been watching them in the woods next to the leafy litter.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're going for, but they're harvesting something in the leafy litter. They like the mud puddles. Yeah, and they love mud puddles. So I think that they're not actually harvesting it. I think it's just attached to them because static electricity, and I messed around in the leaf litter, and
their pollen basket hairs are good at collecting.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know, or they knock it off in the hive, and when we carry out our dead bees, we have a natural collector for the spores. I don't know. It's been a strange year. This is the first year that I've actually looked for them. They've probably been there before, but this year there was a lot of them there.
So yeah, our nuke deliveries showed up. It was a especially painless process this year as we got personal deliveries. Handouts went mostly to plan in terms of pickups. I understand you had several stragglers up to almost 2 weeks later.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if you're a listener out there and you have ordered a package or a nuke from a supplier,
not just us, any supplier,
anybody, and they have made it clear that the pickup for your bee product is a given day, a Saturday, do not assume that means that there is an alternate day for pickup. Please be there when they have said their pickup is going to be available, because logistically it creates problems, because the queen in the cage of the package is not going to be great multiple days. And for the nukes, they needed to be moved because of the quality of the nukes we got. They needed to be moved to 10 frames ASAP. And if you didn't do that, they swarmed. And I know several of them swarmed on your property. So then you're, as a customer, what am I getting?
I can't give you I'm not willing to give you a swarmed colony with a queen that may or may not mate well. And it just causes problems.
So not only are you not getting the product that you bought in terms of the best product that we could have delivered, but now you're putting us in a hard spot in terms of trying to come up with something to fulfill the order that you should have just picked up. So if you're out there, always
do your best to work with your suppliers and get in there. It worked out this year. It was okay. We worked around the issues.
We've talked to other people that have done this, and they've all talked about the headaches that come with the people that don't show up. But the messaging here is, don't be one of those people. We've had our first calls for cutouts. We're going to start on this is the earliest one I think we've ever done.
By a month, the earliest one we've ever done.
How many think we're going to have this year?
I think last year we did 10. I'm guessing that we're going to have... Now, we have more developed competition in the area now than we ever had before.
Yeah. I know you felt like that was not a problem.
Yeah, it's not... Well, because you and I are okay with doing cutouts. We don't love things like bees in a cement wall, right? Or there's some that we just don't want to touch. And I'm okay with other people coming and doing those.
The weird ones, what it turns out to be is you're starting to stretch the skills and time to a point where monetarily it's going to get into the $1,000, $2,000 in order to make it worth our time and energy. And at that price, there are a lot of people that, nope, I'll just spray them.
Yeah, and not realizing that when they spray them, there's other problems. Right? You have cockroaches or wax moths and everything else, that's going to come along with that. You're not going to fix the hole, so they're going to be back in there next year anyway. So you're gonna have an ongoing struggle with these things. It is an infestation, right? It is something that needs to be removed, and I understand life's getting expensive on a lot of things out there, but you still I think you need to respect the beekeepers and the time they put into those cutouts.
How many swarms you at?
I only caught one. I have been called on 3.
I got called for 1, and before I could get to it, I got a call back saying the husband that it was in the front yard was going to, air quotes, take care of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that's usually spray it with a hose or spray it with insecticide or set it on fire or what are the other things that have happened. Knocked it out of the tree was one I got. And I was like,
we had one shoot at it.
We had one shoot at it. I've had one shoot at it with a shotgun. One I had out near, actually kind of out near the club apiary, was one that would have been an easy grab. And I got called on it. I was out the door in 10. I was driving there, and on the way there, they called me and said it left.
So this transitions well into one of our questions. We're going to sprinkle in a few of our questions here in the Around the Yard segment. One of those is, how do you catch the swarm?
I actually helped somebody. It was her first time. She listens to us now. She just wrote me today and said that she listens to us. She found our podcast, so thanks for listening to us. So she had not caught a swarm before, and she was a little bit worried. She wanted to borrow the bee vac in order to vacuum them up. They're at about 6 feet height, which is, I'm 6'2", so it's about perfect swarm height for me.
So a bee vac would work on something that is hard and immovable. So like a fender of a vehicle, awning of a gas station, like these things you can't really.
This was on the side. This was on a trunk of a tree, and it was like a probably 6 inches around tree. So not a small tree, not something you could really shake. For those kinds of things, especially if it's at like, telephone pole or something like that.
Yep.
You can be calm, with some experience, be calm and scoop them into a box.
So I'll start with scooping them into the box by hand. You can choose to go barehanded or nitrile glove. I won't go leather for that activity. It's too clumsy. And then the stragglers, you don't really want to be trying to brush the pole or the surface because you'll roll the girls and that'll upset them and you get stung. Build a bridge between your your swarm holding device, i.e. like your 5-frame nuke or your pro nuke that you're scooping them into. Build a bridge with one of the frames between the top of that 5-frame nuke and the pole that they're on, and then you can brush a couple down onto your bridge, and they will surprisingly quickly probably march right into the box. You will see them climb like a moving mat of bees down the side of the pole, the trunk, the side of the fender, across the bridge, and into the top of the box.
Now, so this one was like 6 feet off the ground. So I went and got a ladder and put it was a nicely made 5-frame nuke, and I scooped about 75% of them into the box with my hand. However, I've also actually this time I used a turkey feather, and brushed them onto a frame that had foundation on it, and then just moved them into the box. And then since it's a 5-frame box anyway, you're going to put them in, grab another frame, do the same thing. That's an easy way to move them over. And then if you set it up and leave it there, and you got the queen, they'll fly into the box. They don't have to walk. They'll fly. You'll see them stick their butt in the air. There's a Naznav gland that they have on their abdomen that says, "Hey, this is home," and they'll come flying in. I leave them locked up for 24 hours in this weather.
This weather is cool. If you're on a tree branch, the small tree branch, an inch around, you can just clip the tree branch and then take the tree branch over to the top of your 5-frame nuke and give it a sharp shake, and they'll fall off into the nuke, and anybody that hits the ground will crawl back to the entrance or up the side of the nuke, and they'll all be up inside your box within about 20 minutes, and you pack up and leave.
Yeah, I've also gone through in that kind of situation and cut the end of the tree branch off. You have to hold the tree branch because otherwise it flings, and then the bees go everywhere, and then they inevitably end up another 10 feet higher because they're like, "Ooh, something was on that branch. We'll go higher." So hold the branch, cut the other end off, and then cut the end off behind your hand. And you can, if you cut it short enough, you can just stick the whole branch in the box. You don't have to shake it, and you can throw the lid on, and they'll usually find their way in there too. It takes about a half hour. The fastest I've ever done one was 15 minutes. It's because I grabbed the queen. I saw her. I had a queen clip. Threw her into the box. 15 minutes.
I've gotten a clean shake where almost nobody was outside the box, and it was like 5 minutes, load up and leave.
You ever sprayed them with sugar water to keep them from flying? I haven't either. I've seen people do it. I'm wondering how well that works. I've sprayed frames with sugar water and put that in there, and you can see them sitting there lapping that up.
There was another question that related to my talking about moving my empty box from the winter on the bottom up, and to give them that space to work in. There was a question that was basically that. My box on the bottom is empty. What do I do with it?
Yeah. Moving it up is fine. You can checkerboard them too, to move them down. Hopefully they'll build down into the box. I've found that with some old frames, especially here in the Midwest, we have a lot of agriculture. With some old frames, they don't always like to move back onto that old frame. If it's real crunchy and really dark and they're avoiding it, it needs to be cycled out.
I was about to say that it gives you a perfect opportunity to go through those 10 frames because they're not currently being occupied and make some decisions about what needs to be cold. And by cold, I mean what needs to be replaced, swapped out.
Well,
now, if you want to keep those dark frames do make good permanent swarm cap. Like if you're going to put up a box in a tree, the black comb apparently smells great to swarms. And there has been a lot of reports, and my personal evidence also backs it up that they do like those dark frames for the swarm cap boxes.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like, I usually put those out in the edge so that I can still cycle them through eventually. If they don't catch a swarm that year, those dark frames also draw in wax moths really nicely, and then they shred everything. The other thing, before we get too far off this topic, so earlier we were talking about, hey, we switched the boxes and they filled it with honey, and now what do I do? So some people don't have the physical strength to lift like 100-pound box of honey.
Dude, it's getting to the point where I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I never wanted to do it. So the thing I've done is everyone should have a nuke box, right? Everyone should have a Pro Nuke. The things are cheap. They're easy to have. I have a ton of them. If you don't have one and you really think you need one, you can come to me. I will sell you one for cheap because I have lots. And basically I use those. I put the boxes in because 5 frames in those is still easily manageable. You can put the lid on. I bring it over to the apiary. I extract it.
So what he's talking about?
So you just move it one frame at a time.
Pull one frame out. You can brush the bees out, or if you do typical fume board or something,
I just brush it off with a feather.
A single frame out, put that in the 5-frame nuke, and then do that one at a time, and then you don't have to lift the whole 100-pounder.
Yeah, and then you're moving 50 pounds at most, or 10 pounds if it's less, right? And you can put them right back. It's manipulate it one at a time. The best part about the Langstroth, in my opinion, is that it's modular, and we don't treat it like it's modular enough, and we should as beekeepers.
I mean, I do. It's something I like to bring up when I'm teaching my students is.
I do too, but I get calls all the time. Hey, I can't lift this.
People want to number the frames 1 through 10, and oh my God, you put 3 where 2 was supposed to be, and you put 4 where 7 was supposed to be, and I'm like, no, guys, this is not.
Now, I do a really poor job of this. However, put your year that you put the frame in there, and then you can have them all lined up on one side. If you go to my apiary, you will find I do a really, really bad job of this. But when you put them back together, when you have like 1 or 2 hives, at least you can line it back up so that they're all facing the same way.
It's just habit.
Yeah, it's habit.
I do it.
Yeah. Steve does a good job of it. I don't.
I try to teach my students this. I suggest that they adopt a similar system, and all of them have chosen to adopt the similar, put a date on one end of the frame, and then I work from the back of the hive. I like to keep my dates all at the back, and then that's my way to know that the back of the orientation of the box is numbers at the back, and then there's no questions about what's the front of the box and what's the back of the box. And
yeah, the thing I do well, though, is take notes. I have a really nice spreadsheet. I have lots of notes. My guys are taking notes this year. If you don't like a spreadsheet,
but we have
other
there's
people
other issues, man.
draw
We've
it
got
on the
9
lid.
frames and boxes.
I do.
We've got no inner covers.
Yeah, I don't care about inner covers. The 9 frames and boxes is nice, especially for supers. Like a 9-frame super is so
supers,
nice.
Yeah. But I'm talking about brood boxes.
Yeah, I like 9 frames in my brood boxes too.
We have some in the news. Apparently there's big news coming out of California. If you believe it, there have been people, the no treatment people have for years and years and years said, hey, I don't want to treat my bees for mites.
They'll develop resistance.
They'll develop resistance.
Yep. Darwin will step in and
you're like,
he will fix it.
man, we do not have enough time, and you don't want to lose that many bee colonies before that happens. But turns out, if you're helping Mother Nature by doing some selective breeding, maybe you get there quicker. And 3 years worth of research out of California, they seem to be ready to stand up and declare that they have a Varroa mite resistance in a hybrid honeybee in Southern California.
A measurable percentage rate, like 68% fewer mites.
And
over
so
a 3-year period.
236 colonies analyzed, monitored over a 4-year period.
Now, some of our listeners, Randy was on, right, with us. Randy doesn't treat. Yep. He believes that. And I'm sure he'll be like, yep, I've been telling people, right? All of his swarm cutouts down south, right? They're not an issue there. And I do believe it. I believe it'll happen. The pressures and selections that we've done as beekeepers may be doing a bit of a disservice if we're super treating. Now, the article does talk about, hey, don't avoid treating, which is something that Steve and I have preached for a long time. Still keep track of your mite count. Measure it at least, so you know. Realistically, if you're treatment free, in my opinion, you should be keeping track of your mite count and then culling the queens that are the losers in that mite count race. So,
when we were pre-gaming this, my first question was, great, where can I get that queen? Where can I get a daughter of that queen? So the queens that they're using out there, and your knee-jerk response was that, well, that's a California queen. She ain't going to work in Central Illinois.
And so there are studies there that say it doesn't matter, they can go wherever. However, we don't really have Africanized queens here in Central Illinois either. And we have some weird weather patterns, as if you've listened to us.
So they're claiming that their hybrid is a genetic mix of Western European, Eastern European, Middle Eastern, and African lineages, which to me sounds like a mutt.
Yeah,
which we have a lot of mutts.
Yeah, we've got a lot of mutts, and I have hives that are which should tickle some people. I have some untreated hives because the people didn't pay me for a while, and now there's new people there, and they want the bees. So there's some untreated hives out there. I'm doing a mite count on them next week, so I'll report out on that probably next thing.
So here's a philosophical question.
Yeah.
What if I brought in one of these fancy California hybrids, queens, to have a colony that worked well enough, mite loads were kept under control enough that I didn't actively have to treat the hive, but I had to replace that queen every year. Instead of having to replace a hive every year at $200, I just have to replace a $40 queen.
Just and go back and buy another $40
send me another $40 queen in the mail. Are you on board now?
Are they surviving the winter?
I flip a coin, I guess.
Yeah. See, like if they're surviving the winter, then sure, I'm on board, right? Like, I don't know why you're replacing the queen at that point, though. I know that there's some local beekeepers that replace their queens every year.
Well, what is the queen's not going to make it in Central Illinois mean? Does that mean the entire hive doesn't make it through the winter?
To me, that's the hive doesn't make it through the winter. Like
you think that's just not a function of insulation and amount of honey?
I think there's some behavioral cues there that are different. right? I mean, we've had really strong hives that are strong. We've got plenty of food.
I do not claim to understand why I have some ones that I will bet you will lose every year and somehow make it, and the strongest ones that I have ever seen going into winter don't make it, and seem to starve to death a inch away from 60 pounds of honey. I don't. Hell if I know, dude.
Yeah, I don't really understand it either. Or there's the ones that had the lid's blown off. It's been off for like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And you're like, oh, these guys are dead. I just cleaned a hive out. The lid was off. This is the one we talked about earlier. The lid was off at least 3 days. And I went back in there and looking at them, and there is clearly this was the cluster size before, and this half of the cluster died, and this other half of the cluster, we're fine. Now, they didn't have the population to clean out the rest of that hive, so they were struggling with, they're starting to get weird things happening in there. So I physically went and cleaned it out for them and put a feeder in there and said, okay, let's go. Right, maybe you'll make it. But, yeah, I don't know why they'd make it or not. To me, right, I don't want to give people the impression that I buy a $40 queen and she makes it, and that's all I have to do. Because I've had that question, too, from newbies, right? Oh, I'm just going to buy a queen, and the bees will find her, and then I'll have a hive, right? But that's not how that works.
So what about the people who think that they've got, their fancy mite biter or their fancy saskatraz, and because I've got this fancy named bred queen that's supposed to do awesome things with mites, that's my control, right? Like, I mean, there's very much people that are believe that. And these people have spent significant time and effort putting breeding time into making their line of saskatraz or Purdue, mite biters. So, like, the idea that we can have these queens that are genetically tweaked.
So you're going to have generalizations in queens and stuff, right? As somebody you own a lab, I own English bulldogs, right? I have different varieties of success with my English bulldogs. There is no magic bees. The bottom line is there's no magic bees out there. I don't really care where you are. Like the California ones, though, even those in the wild, those are a mutt. Those are a mutt bee. There's no magic bees that are going to be magically nice and produce honey and resistant to mites.
Do you think we'll get there?
I think we'll get to resistant bees for Varroa, but I think...
Or do you think we're going to move to the next major problem and then we're going to look back and go, oh, remember when we were all fighting for years trying to get our bees to survive Varroa?
Yes.
That was a thing. That was easy.
Yes, because we're going to get to the next panic, and it's going to be like, okay, now you got to treat with formic, and now you're treating with formic, and formic kills Varroa. Now it kills the next thing too, but it kills Varroa. So I think that nature will build towards a more resistant creature,
and I definitely think people are going to continue to actively help Mother Nature out with active breedings and.
Yeah, my wish would be is that the big bee breeders, there are some out there that do a really good job of tracking their genetics and tracking their responses and things like that. And there are some that do a really poor job of doing so.
So this note of the fact that you have a special queen, somehow have a special queen, reminded me of a story you told me just last week about someone who contacted you about this hive, and I believe you went and looked at it, and it was like 4 boxes deep.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just boiling with bees. And after much prodding and questions, we finally got around to the fact that she may have somehow acquired a commercial queen. What does that mean to you? I've heard this term before.
So commercial queens, to me, they lay a huge amount of eggs. So they grow super fast. They produce a lot of honey.
So the commercial queen that I've heard of is this sort of mythical creature that the almond guys have developed and sort of bred for, where they are super proficient layers, and they're using those to consistently rob brood out of to build colonies to send off for pollination. Use probably almonds. And so they're voracious layers. They build a ton of brood, which sounds like every beekeeper's like awesome idea of a queen until you have one in the yard and you realize the headache that is trying to manage that hive if you're a beginner or if you're a hobbyist.
You have to stay in front of it with equipment. Like in Peoria,
most hobbyists don't have that.
No, I have a garage full of equipment, and even with a garage full of equipment, I've had a queen like that, and I swear she swarmed, even with robbing frames and frames and frames and frames out, and she was huge.
So this idea that we can get these sort of weird edge case queens seems to exist.
Yeah. The idea seems to exist. The thing was shocking to me was she was very nice. She's a very nice lady. She wasn't really comfortable with being in her bees. Couldn't get frames out because she wasn't using the hive tool right. Has had these bees in this box for 4 years.
Which also brings up some real, should we really make notes about? Because I've never thought to give my beginners lessons on using a hive tool.
Oh, that's one of my first classes is how to use a hive tool.
I never got taught. I never got an explicit instruction on how to use a hive tool. That was what my mentor was using, and I saw how he used it, and I just, that's how you use it.
But you have used a lot of tools.
I do have a bit of mechanical aptitude.
Yeah, and there are people out there that have none, and so like they try to use the thumb of the tool to like pull frames apart, physically pull them apart. It is a losing proposition. You do not have the leverage there. You have a lever in your hand. You just got to figure out how to use that lever as such so that you can pull frames.
And there's so many ways to use. Like if you've got the pry bar looking one that's got a 90-degree angle on it.
Yeah.
Like the number of times, I will say this: I have made the instruction to people when they were struggling just using the flat end as a pry bar. Hey, flip that over, and you can use the small end as a pry, and you get a lot more leverage. And they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, here, do this. And they're like, oh my God, you can use it that way? I'm like, yeah, you can use it that way.
They're afraid, mostly what I see is they're afraid of squishing bees.
Oh, all the time.
And I'm like, those bees are going to move out of the way. And if they don't, they probably don't have the survival instinct in nature.
It's one out of 40,000. Yeah. We're going to have some losses.
I still feel bad about killing, even killing the ones, unless they're stinging me. And then I feel less bad about it. But mostly they'll just move out of your way. And the other thing is they're not worried about is the ones that they're crushing on the sides of the frames. And I can hear them crunch, and I'm like, all right, I'm not even going to tell you about like the 3 or 4 or 5 that you just crushed.
Yep.
Yeah. Because you were worried about the one that you were trying to save with the frame. So, yeah, knowing how to use a hive tool is super important. Knowing how to use tools in any job, right? Smoker, hive tool, BVAC, fancy cutout tools. Yeah, by all means, you should learn how to use those things.
Some other questions we got. Luke, what kind of frame and foundations do you like?
My personal favorite frames for my deep hives are the double wax coated plastic foundation. This is for my deeps with a wooden frame.
With extra side nailing for reinforcement.
With extra side nailing for reinforcement. I have thrown away 4 frames so far this year that have come apart. So, and now that wasn't, usually I get my frames from Hilco. They have pretty good frames. I have not had a huge amount of issues with that, but I did get one from Primal Bee or something like that. They're the guys that have the roughed up inside of, and 3 of those have failed on me. So if you guys listen to the podcast, go back and talk to your manufacturer, because 3 failing out of the 20 that I got from you is not a good number.
Define failing. You pulled the top bars off?
I pulled the top bar off. Yeah. Pulled the top bar off. It's like the second year I've had it.
In the Midwest, we have winters and we get propolis and they get stuck down, and those first couple inspections in early March, early April when it's cold, you'll rip some stuff apart 100%.
This was last week. I mean, this
or you know.
Now the wife was standing next to me and going, "Look at all of the propolis in this." And I was like, "Yep." And look at, like, you can see it. It's basically flat with the top of the frame.
So I'm slightly different. While I do have some plastic foundation here and there, I started on wax. I really like. I find I don't have as many. Making sure your plastic foundation is well waxed is key to them drawing on that plastic foundation. And if for whatever reason that wax coating ceases to exist on the plastic, they will start doing funky things on their drawing of.
There's two fixes to that I found. The easy one that's in the yard is have a bottle of 1-to-1 sugar water, and you can spray it on all the frames. That works okay. Once it's drawn, you're just screwed.
Once it's drawn.
But the other thing you can do is that you can wax your frames. Collect your wax in a little coffee bucket, melt it down at the end of the year. Remember to do so, and you'll have plenty for waxing frames.
Fun thing about that, I was doing that exact activity this afternoon. Fun fact. It probably doesn't take any more time to go through and have to re-wax the plastic foundation as it does just to put in a piece of wax foundation and never have to worry about it again. Other than the fact that when it comes time to recycle that frame, I got to start. I mean, you're basically going to start from scratch with a piece of plastic, but you can pop out your old plastic and pop in a new piece of plastic in like 30 seconds. And if they draw that plastic the first time, no problem, you're great. But if you ever have developed issues along the way, I don't ever have, like, it's all natural wax, and they get to put drone comb
Aren't
on
you
it.
using nailing tops, right? The frames with the snap-off
wedge top bars.
bars. So places aren't selling wedge top bars anymore.
You can still get them.
Yeah, but
from the real bee suppliers, Man Lake and Dayton, you can still get them. Now you can't. Some of the newer suppliers that have cropped up, it's more difficult to find them. But you can also, they do have ways to put natural wax foundation in a groove top bar. It may not be as simple to do that, but it can be done with various wax tools. And then the other option is all plastic, frame and all. I have some all plastic frame and all frames. I suppose they're easy to use in the sense that you don't have anything to assemble. You don't have anything to, have to put foundation in, pull it out of a box as a complete unit and throw it in your hive and you're done.
I think I have 10 of those left in my operation that I haven't thrown away yet.
The problem I have is when it comes to extracting them, full plastic frames of honey get real. The structural integrity of them get real wobbly.
Yeah,
and depending on the specific flavor of plastic frame, some of them had weird gaps down the sides where the 1/4-inch wood side is. They don't make a 1/4-inch thick piece of plastic for injection molding reasons, and so they have little cavities in there which are just the right size for wax moth larvae. Ask me how I know.
And small hive beetle. What the issue that I have with them is that when you crank on them, and the wooden ones, I've broken wooden ones. The plastic ones, if they're cold and old, they kind of dissolve, disintegrate, and shatter. And then I've got bits of plastic throughout my hive, and I just don't want to deal with them. They're cheaper, though. That's the cheapest option.
The other benefit I have for my wax foundation is I can specify what I want for foundation. Do I want a thin surplus? Do I want a small cell?
Thin surplus is used for what's called cut comb.
Cut comb.
And it's nice to have the thin surplus. It doesn't have the teeth bite. So when you bite, the cut comb is both sides of the foundation. When you bite into it, just doesn't have the gumminess that's there.
Yeah, thick. And then I run small cell. I've run small cell foundation, and it's real hard to find small cell plastic. I think it exists today, but for a long time you couldn't find it. The only way to get small cell was natural wax. So if you're wanting to alternate flavors of foundation, you're not going to find that in plastic.
And usually for my cut comb, I use popsicle sticks, the wide popsicle sticks, and shove those in the top.
Just a starter strip, yep.
Yeah, and those work really good for if you telling them this is where I want you to build.
So, like, fundamentally, it's personal. It's one of those personal choice options. The reality is, the bigger the beekeeper, the more likely they are to pick the fastest and quickest option, easiest option. And these days, because of the ubiquity of a wooden frame with a plastic foundation, you can order them in a case of 20. They already come pre-assembled with the foundation already installed. Open up the box, throw them in the hive. Write a date on them, throw them in the hive, you're done.
$4.50 usually in our area, and you can order them by the 1,000. It's just super easy for me.
If you're looking for a queen and you want a queen and you are wondering what a queen costs, what's the price for a queen in 2026?
It's a really good question. First of all, we're going to go back to there are no magic queens, no magic bees.
But sir,
there aren't.
It's
any.
A fancy Saskatraz, sir.
Yeah, well, I understand. However,
what if it's
the only
artificially inseminated breeder queen and it's $200?
Those aren't $200. Those are like $500.
And they're $500. Don't tell me there's not fancy queens, sir.
Those are fancy queens. Those are probably worth the $500, especially since they stand up behind.
But I don't think the question was in jest of was not inquiring about AI queens.
Are those actually worth? As a hobbyist, is that queen worth that money for you?
I think if you're a serious hobbyist and you're wanting to do interesting grafting things, you're probably not asking what a queen price is worth.
That's probably true. I don't think so.
But to answer your question, I think the reason why they cost that much is because they have that value.
That's probably true. In my opinion, if you
have
are
you bought
hobbyist,
queens for $20?
Oh yeah, I bought the most expensive queen I've ever bought was $100.
Have you bought a $10 queen?
I've bought like a $20. No, I bought 2 queen cells for $20, so that's $10. Yeah, I've done
that. When you first started buying queens, what was the first price you remember paying for a queen?
Oh, I think it was like $25. Maybe $30.
Mine was $20, and it came in the mail, USPS, like overnight. So that included mailing. I think. Yeah. Although that may have been picked up in person.
Yeah, I think mine were picked up in person. But yeah,
have you spent $30? Have you paid $30 for a queen?
I have. I've paid $30 for a queen. Anymore, it's
$40 a queen.
I have paid $40 for a queen. That was the last time. At that time, when I was like, "Hey, I bought a queen for $40."
Do you think the price of the queen depends on the time of the year?
Yes, it should.
And define why they're going to be different prices at different time of the year.
Right. So the beginning of the year, the queens are easy to replace, relative quote unquote easy to replace. And
they're abundant. Everybody's wanting to supply. Everybody knows.
Yep.
People want queens in the spring, so they're going to make queens.
They make a lot of queens.
And therefore, queens are probably the cheapest you'll find them. Today's price for an average queen is probably what, $20, $25?
$25 is cheap.
Yeah?
Yeah, 30 to 40.
Price of everything's gone up, man.
Price of everything's gone up. So it's 30 to 40, I think, for a queen right now. If you get a vaccinated queen,
30 to 40. I mean, vaccinated queen, that's something special.
So vaccinated queens are going to be like 80.
Are we going to do our vaccinated queens this year?
We are. We're going to do vaccinated queens this year.
Man, I would really like to have vaccinated queens.
We're actually going to do a queen class, and we're going to do also vaccinated queens. I've got the stuff set up for it.
If you're listening out there and you want to attend a queen class and learn about raising queens and actually have some hands-on grafting, have we got a class for you? We're going to have how many spots?
5
spots.
We probably do it twice if we fill up or if we have more requests.
And if you got in last year, congratulations, you got the super special first year price.
Yeah.
If you talk to those people about what they paid last year, they're going to tell you a price that's not anything close to what this year is.
No.
But the reality is
$200 for this year for a spot.
The reality is when you look at the value of the products you will physically walk away with in terms of what we provide and the teaching and hands-on experience, it's worth the $200.
Yeah, and if you're a local and you have that, we'll mark your queens, and if you had a successfully hatched queen, you can come back and grab her and get her mated, or if you want us to mate her, we'll mate her too. But that's all part of the $200. Now, is that a $200 queen? No, because you're walking away with tools. And you're walking away with intelligence, learning
skills.
Yeah. So no, that's there's more there. However, as far as queens go, the real question that we had was that we were getting to. I could feel it. Was what's a queen worth in like August, September? Because that's the calls that we get. Is maybe it's usually August. I don't have a queen in my hive. Do you have one available? And to me, that should be the most expensive queens that are out there.
I suppose that has. I think that price can vary a lot based on whether or not the person is anticipating August queens and has actually done some late grafting and has queens available. But if you're asking that person to pull a queen out of a nuke or some other hive or something that they've had,
I mean, they're gonna be in a nuke. It's gonna be in a 3-frame or 5-frame, or heaven forbid, a 10-frame. A 10-frame. That, I mean, right? You can bank them for maybe a week.
Yeah,
that's about it. But they have to build up.
That's going to be the most expensive, and what, $60?
60, yeah, probably. If I have to pull it out of a 3-frame, then I'll say 60.
Yeah.
If I have to pull it out of a
5-frame,
it might be more. Remember, if I can get a 10-frame through winter and spring, and I can split it, a nuke's $200.
$200.
So the other part is is your August hive? Did you kill the queen and that's why you need one, or is your August hive been struggling all along and now you're trying to bail it out with a late fall queen?
Sir, I might have missed my July swarm.
Oh,
and then it took a month. It took a month to requeen, and then
she didn't make it
and
home?
then the requeening didn't make because reasons.
Dragonflies are out then.
And my August inspection, it's summertime. I already took my honey. There's not a lot to inspect, and maybe it's been a month before I've been in them, and now it's too late to notice that I don't have any. I'm queenless, and I don't know how long I've been queenless. So I'm not going to chalk it up to the fact that this person screwed something up, because I've been there.
I mean, I've been there, but I screwed it up, so I got there. So, like in most beekeeping, the answer is it depends.
It depends. But for spring, I guess it's what, $25-$30 now?
$30 for me. It's $30. Actually, for me, it's 40 right now because you're going
a little early. They're a little early, and we haven't started grafting here in Central Illinois.
All the ones that I had sold.
Yeah.
So I'm a month out basically to get some new ones. Because 28 days, egg to land, 28 days.
Droning on is where we talk about what's coming up in the next 2 weeks. All the things.
I've been so tired, just because I'm spending 6 to 8 hours in the hive.
Dude, my schedule has never been this busy.
I've never been this busy either. And the other thing is that I'm drinking a ton of water, and I've talking to my doctor. My doctor's like, "Hey, if you're drinking." So I'm basically drinking minimum. I'm drinking 2, almost 3 liters of water a day to stay hydrated.
Yeah,
and I'm cramping. So
you gotta switch over to the old Gatorade, bud.
Yeah.
You gotta get the electrolytes.
So he doesn't like Gatorade because the sugar content's too high.
Oh, all right,
so I've
whatever.
got this electrolyte drink that tastes terrible. Anyway, so my point is to folks that are out there that are working your hives.
Salty water and corn chips.
Salty water.
And your Fritos.
Yeah.
That's what it was on the old landscape crew, man.
Salty water and Fritos?
No, Fritos. He had guys drinking water, and he'd get heat stroke, and you'd be like, get out the Fritos, throw him a bag of Fritos, and get salty Fritos.
Huh. But anyway, yeah, get some salt in you too if you're cramping.
Your potassiums.
My potassiums are low.
Your bananas.
Yeah, eat a banana. But for the next couple of weeks, I'm still feeding. For my weak colonies, and they have to be a weak colony to feed them. I'm not feeding my strong colonies because if you do, you're going to find that they're going to be running out of space and then swarming.
Putting all of your sugar water in the honey super, which is not good.
Not using the stuff.
And then you're going to screw up your nice spring honey
harvest
that you're collecting right now. So don't feed your big ones.
So I'm not feeding my big ones. I'm feeding my small ones. I'm using Rocket Fuel, not sponsored. This is not a sponsored bit. Rocket Fuel pollen patties from Man Lake. I use
Rocket Fuel.
I use a quarter of them, and they're doing
sounds like
really
an
well.
Energy drink, dude.
It does. It does sound like an
energy drink for the bees.
I think it's just pollen added. I think I'm really looking forward to the yeast that's in development that they basically isolated out the amino acids that are used by bees that are active in pollen. And I think it's probably 3 or 4 years away from actually hitting the shelf. But I'm looking forward to that stuff. But yeah, I've used it this year for the first time. The bees really like it. The important part of it is stop and take a look at the bottom of it. And if you have a bunch of hive beetle larvae in there, pull it.
Yeah.
Don't leave it for that hive beetle to hatch. You're just going to have more problems. So I'm feeding.
I am not feeding anything. I don't really have. If I'm putting on fresh foundation right now, I'm just letting them draw based on. But I'm putting any fresh foundation I'm putting on. I'm usually putting on my biggest hives. I will pull empty frames out of big hives that are drawn and have my big hives draw. And like if I have cold frames out of a weak one, or one that's not as behind one of my strong ones, I'll do proper beekeeping management things and have my big hive draw and not make my weaker hives draw.
I have been checkerboarding this is the earliest I've ever checkerboarded some of my hives. And checkerboarding is the process where you take an undrawn frame, which means for Steve it would be his wax foundation. For me, it's a plastic foundation, basically not drawn out yet, so there's no wax put on it by the bees. And you move it in between two frames that are. Now, usually they're the ones on the outside. The last frames to get drawn in any beehive are the two outside frames. So if you numbered a hive from like 1 to 10 for the frames that are in there, the 1 and 10 are always the last ones to get drawn. And if you put an empty space in the beehive towards the middle, they get annoyed and they draw it out really nicely, usually, really quickly. Gives them work to do. So that's called checkerboarding. Don't put them next to each other, because then they do weird things with the comb often. But if you put like an undrawn, drawn, undrawn, like in that order towards the middle, they'll draw that out. Gives them more space too. And I like that. And I've done some of that. I am making some splits. The other interesting thing you can do is you can pull frames of baby bees, brood, make sure the queen's not on there, and you can pull them from different hives and throw them into a new.
Sir, that's easier
hive.
Said than done.
That is a nuke. That's how I make my nukes, and I'm doing that.
How many of your queens currently are marked?
10.
So like 1 out of 10 hives.
Yeah.
If I
get an itch and I've got the marker in my pocket.
Do you have your marker in your pocket?
Usually.
Is it
right
white
now,
this year?
Right now, it's white this year. The color for the queen. You mark the queens. Depending on the year, it's set throughout the world. This year's white.
Are you marking blue or white at this point?
I'm marking if they're overwintered, and I know that they're overwintered.
Blue.
I don't have the blue around with me. If they're new and I see them and I feel like I should mark them, they're white. So the thing that I get for the feel like I should mark them is if the hive is taking off.
Yeah.
And growing very quickly.
You think
I mark. Because I want to keep track of that queen. If they're limping along, I'm not putting time in to mark them. Now, I know that our supplier for our nukes was asked by another person to mark queens next year.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see if we get marked queens. I was asked by somebody that was picking up queens as they were here standing at the apiary if I could mark the queens for them. And I was like, I don't really want to do this. I think.
Is that because of the time involved or the potential failure?
Two other people, both. There's two other people behind him. So the potential failure that Steve was getting at is that if you mark a queen and say I screw up and I get it on her wing or get on her leg or get on her head.
Or you screw up and you're handling her, doesn't work out.
Yeah. The bees will kill her if there's something wrong with her. And then they have to replace her. And then I'm out of queen and I can't sell that colony. So if you're gonna request that, it needs to be requested way in advance. Like months in advance, not after you show up at the apiary. That's a no-go for me.
As we wrap up the show, the wife found this National Geographic
show. It's on Secrets of the Bees.
Secrets of the Bees. As a beekeeper, I was pleasantly surprised at how accurate 95% of the information was. I really had nothing to complain about. As a beekeeper who's done this for a while, holy cow, the photography blew my mind, dude. They had photography shots of stuff that, like, I have read about in the sense that I realized that, in the 1800s, they were studying brood, like pupa in the cells, and they were moving caps and watching it and stuff like that, like by eye, because they didn't have, obviously, cameras back then. And so I've read about it, but like I'd never actually seen it happen. Of course, I've ripped open cells. I've been in a hive. I've seen the stuff personally, but to see the photography and for them to time-lapse development of pupa and like split cells open and film it, and you get to see the pupa rotate and larva rotate and queens inside capped queen cells piping, like I don't know, man. Like it was absolutely.
So I haven't seen it yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But as far as like a thumbs up, Beekeeping Buddies thumbs up, thumbs down, it's a thumbs up from Steve.
It's absolute. Like if you're a beekeeper, it's 100% worth a watch. If you are a beekeeper and you have non-beekeeper people in your household that you struggle to communicate with for beekeeping, sit them down in front of this show.
I think that if you're not a beekeeper and you're just interested in it, because we have some of those listeners,
watch the show.
Watch it. It's a 2-part series. One's 40 minutes. The other one I think is 20.
They do 30. A good job at mixing storytelling with fact delivery. So it's not a dry, I just present you with a million facts and figures about everything beekeeping. And to be clear, this is not a show specifically on Apis mellifera. This is not a show specifically on European honeybees. We cover bumblebees. We cover mason bees. We cover weird African other bee species. Like we cover a whole gamut of bee species. We talk about Apis cerana and how they deal with the giant hornets. And cook them. They should again. This isn't just a guy telling you about it. We have footage. We have captured footage of the giant hornets biting heads off of bees, and the bees retreating inside the hive and waiting for them to come in. They come in, they pounce on them, and cook it to death. They have video of all of this.
That's really cool.
I'm like, it's in like photography wise, blew my mind.
All right. Well, I've been told you are one of many people that have told me to watch it. But as far as our thumbs up, I'm implementing a thumbs up, some thumbs down. Steve says thumbs up on it.
We're giving Steve and Luke 2 thumbs up.
Well, I will watch it. I don't know.
Watch it. All right.
But Steve's got a thumbs up on it. And then the other one, the one that I have that I think you should watch, especially if you have like 8 to 10-year-old kids or you like comic books. There's a book out there called Way of the Hive. I've talked about it before.
Was this the thing you passed around at the last meeting?
It is.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Way of the Hive. It's an interesting story. It talks all about bees.
It's a quasi-graphic novel.
It's a graphic novel. It got the approval
for everybody else. It's a comic book
of the guy that wrote Sandman, which is famous novel, graphic novel. Really interesting story. Actually, and the author wrote another one about ants. I don't know that one yet, but I've read Way of the Hive. Oh, Steve just pulled a tick off his head.
Dude, the ticks out at Wildlife Prairie Park are just absolutely like count was at like 30.
Yeah. Anyway, so Secrets of the Bees. Here's our thumbs up. Rocket Fuel for me, thumbs up. That's the feed that I've been using. Way of the Hive for me is a thumbs up. I suggest it. Steve saying Secrets of the Bees, thumbs up. So there's our thumbs up for the week. Maybe we'll go through other stuff. If anybody has stuff that we should check out, let us know. And we'll try it out.
If you have any questions, get in touch. We'll be happy to answer them. If you have any products you want us to review or questions about products, hit us up. We'll review it or we'll talk about our experience with using it. We've used just about everything out there, so there's not a lot that we won't talk about. And remember, every beekeeper needs a buddy. We hope you found one of yours right here.